Denver Broncos are now 0-2 and Bo Nix sucks, but probably not for the reason that you may be thinking he does. This is Broncos Buck'em. Let's dive into it. So, as I said, the Denver Broncos are 0-2 and Bo Nix is just not looking really good. The same things were happening in this game, I believe, that were happening last game, but not really to the same degree, though. And when I said Bo Nix sucks, and not for the reason that you might be expecting, that's because I place a lot of the blame on Shawn Payton. I mean, Bo Nix does need to clean up a lot of stuff, right? And there's problems with his footwork. There's problems with him overthrowing receivers, not seeing receivers at times, and also not seeing defenders as well, which is severely hindering his performance as a quarterback. But he is also a rookie, and he is still trying to adjust to the speed of the game. Bo Nix, I said in my last video, Bo Nix is an incredibly fast learner. He has very high football intelligence. He knows how to read defenses when he has the time to read them. And as a rookie, he needs more time to read defenses, especially when it's defensive schemes that he hasn't seen before, or he's going against a brand new look, and that's to be expected. So yes, I said Bo Nix sucks, but not because Bo Nix himself sucks. It is, I think, mainly on Shawn Payton and the coaching staff and the plays that they're trying to call. Bo Nix he had a higher average for yards this time around, but Shawn Payton expects in his mind that getting the ball past the line of scrimmage for like 3 or 4 yards is going to result in chunk plays, and we just don't have the playmakers there for that. There were some game management issues, some clock management, and don't even get me started on that final 2 minutes where we totally should have taken the onside kick there. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen in that situation? You don't get the onside kick, and now you have to trust your defense to get a 3 and out. Well, that's what you're going to have to do with the regular kick anyways. So the fact that we didn't go for that onside kick, the best case scenario, we get the ball back with excellent field position, and we see what Nix can do in that kind of field position when it's crunch time, because it seems like Bo Nix and the offense seems to do a lot better when it's crunch time and all the chips are on the table, so to speak. He seems to perform much better with the offense in those situations. And I was saying before, Denver needs to play like there's 2 to 4 minutes left in the game and they're down by 2 scores the entire game, because that seems to be what's working for them. So let's get to Bo Nix just for a little bit, because I want to talk a little bit about the issues that I saw, because I am still a believer. I still believe in Nix, and I am still supporting my QB in Denver. Not just because he was my QB in Oregon, but there are so many things that I know he can be with development, and we're not seeing it right away here, and I don't think that we should be expecting to see it this soon. And I had said before in some previous comments on other videos or in live streams talking about the Broncos how, I believe we're going to see by game 4, Rookie of the Year talks for Bo Nix. As much as I would love to see that, I think there's more deep-seated issues here than just than just Bo Nix. Because if it was just a Bo Nix problem, we'd be seeing other parts of the offense click. We would only be seeing bad plays from Nix, but we're seeing bad play calling on all aspects of the game. And our defense, to their credit, they've been playing well. I mean, they're not elite defense yet. They definitely had a much better second half than they had a first half yesterday. But and also, shout out to Jonah Ellis getting that sack. I was so happy to see him get his first NFL sack in. That was great. Or maybe he had a sack last week against Seattle. I don't know, but I don't quite remember. I'll have to look back on that. But anyway, shout out to Jonah Ellis. But then he was kind of non-existent. So, but going back to what I was saying with Nix is a couple of keys. One were the 2 sacks that he took, and man, even with being a believer and being, all in on Nix from before the draft all the way up through now, what are you doing, Nix? I mean, you weren't touched and you went down. It's like T.J. Watt's aura sacked him, and at least on the second sack, I didn't see T.J. Watt's hand clip his foot at all, so, but definitely on the first sack, he just buckled and went down, and you can't be doing that, Nix. I mean, Nix has to have a stronger presence in the pocket, I believe. I think that he needs to stand his ground better. He needs to, and it's hard to trust the offensive line when they've been playing like they have been playing. I want to say he needs to just trust the offensive line to protect him, but I don't think he can necessarily have that faith in them right now. So, so the sacks were a couple of things that I wanted to point out. Those 2 things were, those 2 sacks in particular were very disappointing for me in terms of Nix and his performance. I think he could have done much better in that situation, but it is what it is. He's a rookie, rookie mistakes, and that is what I'm chalking that up to. And then we're gonna move on to the interception in the end zone, because I think that those sacks and the interception in the end zone were the biggest marks against Nix that I had. And Bo Nix did address this in the post game as well, taking full responsibility, which, yeah, I mean, he should be taking responsibility. That was totally on him. That was his fault, and he admits that 1,000%. I mean, he's not trying to blame anybody. Even Shawn Payton was trying to blame some bad route running, on that. But no, it was totally on Nix. And the overthrown passes, on Nix. I know Nix is better than this. I know Nix has better accuracy than this. This is not the Bo Nix that I know. And it's very discouraging to see that, even with him being a rookie and trying to adjust to the NFL, it's extremely discouraging to see him struggle with the accuracy on some of these passes. But now we can turn to the next point with the receivers, because Dulcich, I always mess up his name, so forgive me. But I'll call him Greg, because, anyways, he had a drop pass. Actually, a couple of drop passes. And our other receivers were having trouble catching the ball again. I mean, it was not... And that's another point that I want to bring up, too, with the offense here real quick before I get into the main point here with Shawn Payton and the rest of the team, is... our offense did actually look better than it did last week. I know the points don't show that, because we scored 20 points on Seattle's defense last week, mainly from the defense, but our offense moved the ball enough to get some points too, even though it was field goals and then that rushing touchdown by Nix. So the score doesn't show that they looked better, but they did. And Bo Nix was 20 for 35, 246 yards on 20 completions. I mean, that's not something to gawk at, you know. That's not something to scoff at, you know. And I think that our game did open up a tiny bit more in this game. It still is nowhere near where it needs to be, but it did open up a tiny bit more, and I was very encouraged to see that for sure. Especially Beatty. I mean, why did Beatty get one run for like 16 yards and then just become non existent in the rest of the game? I mean, you can't be having that happen, right? So that leads me into Shawn Payton and how he's running this offense. One of the points that he himself had brought up was that he likes to rotate. He likes to rotate guys in. He likes to constantly change things up on the offense and rotate different guys in all the time to try to maybe confuse some defenses. But he even admitted himself that that's probably a detriment to Bo Nix right now. Bo Nix is a rookie, and maybe if you have a veteran quarterback, they can adjust to those changes pretty easily. But you've got a rookie quarterback, he needs to have some sort of consistency with who's doing what and when they're doing their thing. And so Shawn Payton gets a lot of the blame for his play calling, for his clock management, for just decisions on fourth down, and all these other things that there's a whole slew that we can get into. But consider this before I let y'all go. Consider this. Maybe Shawn Payton is the problem. Maybe Shawn Payton was not all that we were sold as this offensive genius. Maybe he's stuck in the past. Maybe he's stuck in an outdated offensive scheme that just doesn't work now, and maybe we need to get somebody else to help Nix grow. I mean, pre-draft and after Nix was drafted, everybody was touting, Bo Nix is a perfect fit for Shawn Payton because he's a system quarterback, and the offensive style that Payton runs is very similar to Oregon's and everything. I want to point out something. Dan Lanning runs a similar offense to Shawn Payton in the college level, at least. But he is huge on trick plays. He is huge on giving confusing looks to defenses and just making things interesting. And Shawn Payton does not do that. Shawn Payton does not make things interesting. He runs the same old boring plays that are easily predictable. And so I think it's time to start critically looking at Shawn Payton and if he is the right fit for Nix and this team. And the Broncos are not going to get rid of Shawn Payton after this season, even because they've got too much money in him to just get rid of him. It's not like a Russell Wilson situation where you can just get rid of him again, But if we don't see improvement soon, then he's definitely going to be in the hot seat, and his time with Denver is going to be limited, and also Bo Nix's time is going to be limited with Denver if Bo Nix does not start showing true signs of growth, which, again, I am encouraged that he did show growth in this game. He had a higher QB rating, and he also outperformed Caleb Williams again. So, I wouldn't say outperformed per se, but you've got the number one pick with generational talent that is playing worse or on the same level as Denver's number 12 pick, who was said to be a reach and everything. So that at least is encouraging. But I think that's all I have in terms of the game. I'll give a more in-depth analysis probably later this week on specific plays that I loved, specific plays I didn't love, and just overall how these plays are drawn up and what we should be looking for going into Tampa Bay this Sunday, because That's one thing I want to point out too, real quick for all these Denver haters out there and fans who are giving up on the team already. Look at last season. We went 0-3, and then we went 1-5 to start the season before we started picking things up. So 0-2 does not sound too bad in that light. There's several things I could go into with that, but I won't touch on them now. Maybe I'll touch on them in the comments if you happen to bring them up. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what you think about Shawn Payton, Bo Nix, what's wrong, why can't we get things together? Let me know down below. I will be reading any comment that comes in, and if you find some sort of enjoyment out of this analysis, or just want to have a new sports community who's just going to give it to you as it is and not necessarily listen to all the national media, just call it as I see it, then subscribe, leave a like on the video, appreciate it a lot, and I'll see you next time. Go Broncos.